Texas football gets a not-so-warm welcome to the SEC. Number 1 ranked Texas Volleyball wins, but raises eyebrows, and the NFL is back in full force. All of this and more coming up on College Press Box. Good evening and welcome to College Press Box from the TSTV studios in Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Tommy Yarrish, alongside Addie Irwin, and we have a great show for you tonight. Let's begin up in Fayetteville, Arkansas, where Steve Sarkisian and the number 15 ranked Texas Longhorns took on former Southwest Conference rival Arkansas in a highly anticipated showdown. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from Saturday evening. We're going to start off in the second quarter. KJ Jefferson hands it off to Dominique Johnson, and that's a 5-yard touchdown for the Razorbacks, making it 10-0 early in the second. We move to the third. Jefferson drops back to throw, and it's picked off by the senior defensive back, B.J. Foster. Texas getting a little bit of momentum to start the second half, and it continues. Hudson Card hands it off to the superstar Bijan Robinson, who goes up the middle for a 1-yard touchdown, making it 16-7 Texas. But the Razorbacks catching fire shortly after. The score 26-7 late in the third quarter, and that's Raheem Sanders taking it 26 yards to the house. 33-7 Arkansas after that. Hudson Card heads to the bench, and in comes Casey Thompson. He takes it himself on the option for a 5-yard touchdown. 33-14 your score. Arkansas not stepping off the gas tonight. A.J. Green, that's a 30-yard touchdown. 40-14, but Thompson will get the final laugh. He rolls out, takes some hits, and powers his way in for the 2-yard score. 40-21 Arkansas is your final, as you see Arkansas fans storming the field afterwards in a huge win for the Hogs. Taking a look at some of the stat lines from the night, Texas drops to 1-1 on the year and drops out of the top 25, while the Razorbacks stay undefeated with some swagger on their side. As we look at some of the stats, you can see the offensive struggle for the Longhorns. Hudson Card going 8 for 15 in the air for just 61 yards, and Bijan Robinson adding 69 yards and a touchdown on 19 carries. Texas faces Rice next Saturday at home, while they look to regain their footing and try something new with Casey Thompson getting the start over Hudson Card. For Arkansas, KJ Jefferson throws for 138 yards, but a majority of the Razorback offense came on the ground and through Traylon Smith, who rushed for 75 yards and a touchdown on 12 carries. Georgia Southern comes into town for Arkansas next Saturday with a 3 p.m. kickoff. Now I'll hand it off to Addie Scott and our panelists to talk more about the disappointing loss.
And now we welcome our football analysts, Clark Dalton and Faith Green. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. So Faith, tell me, what do you think went wrong this week down in Fayetteville?
So I think my first point would be the offensive line struggled throughout the game. They didn't give Hudson Card enough time to throw, and they allowed many holes that resulted in Bijan getting tackled. I also think on defense, sometimes it felt they were too spread out, which KJ Jefferson and Traylon Smith exploited. And after the first quarter, they lost some confidence, and it just felt like they didn't execute as smoothly.
Yeah, I have to agree with Faith on all of her points. The brutal truth is they were never in this game. They lacked the intensity Arkansas came out with, and one thing I think that played to Arkansas's benefit was the home crowd. It was really energetic, and they fed off of that. And the offensive play calling lacked creativity. It was too repetitive. They kept giving Bijan the ball, and even though Bijan's a great player, he had 70 yards and a touchdown, you have to mix it up a bit. And Sark acknowledged all of these things, and also Sam Pittman at halftime said we knew exactly what Texas was going to do. And in his press conference today, Sark said that we need to fix those mistakes, and we just didn't play to our full capability. And you just have to make these adjustments in game and in practice.
I totally agree. So, there was a little bit of controversy this week's game. After the brutal game, Coach Sark made the tough decision to pull Card as QB1. What do you think is to come for Thompson and Card both going into this competitive season? Let's start with Clark.
Well, Addie, Hudson Card is still a talented player, but he's not fully developed yet, and that's normal at this point as a freshman. He still has some work to do. He'll continue to grow. And then Casey Thompson deserves a look because in every game he's ever played, he's always been dynamic. When you lead a team 9 times to a touchdown on 10 drives, that's pretty good. And whether it's throwing 4 touchdowns in the Alamo Bowl or igniting the offense this weekend, he's always shown poise and he's decisive. But the team as a whole needs to improve. The offensive line has to step up, and the wide receivers need to do a much better job of getting open, and that'll allow them to play much better.
I totally agree. Faith, what do you have to say?
Either way, quarterbacks are that one player on the team who need a little extra it factor, so both need to constantly craft their skills if they want to be first string. Also, the whole team needs to improve as well.
I totally agree.
I think Hudson played well at home, but when he set foot in Arkansas Stadium, he struggled more because he was under more pressure. I think Casey's experience benefited him more, so he knew what to expect and how to react in this kind of situation. I think Casey is going to be starter for the time being while Hudson needs more time at practice and to grow, and Sark will insert him in situations where he feels like he can execute.
So what do you think the Longhorns need to do better this week in order to beat Rice?
So I think their passing game needs to be more efficient from this point forward, specifically the communication between the wide receivers and quarterbacks. They need to take the pressure off Bijan. He can't carry the entire team himself. And I think they need to manage their confidence, making sure they have it, but it doesn't overwhelm them.
Absolutely. That's a great point by Faith, but also I think you need to understand about this loss is people err until they strive. Sometimes you need a loss to teach you a swift lesson, and even though it's painful, it's something that kind of serves as a motivating factor in the season where you just say, that felt so painful when we lost to Arkansas by 20. I want to do better the next time, and I want to work harder. And that teams can kind of use that as a turning point in the season where they look at it later on and say, hey, even though that was a terrible loss, that was actually a turning point. And also, you need to play every game from now on like it's championship week. You need to be chasing that edge of perfection constantly.
Exactly.
And coming up next, we head to the hardwood, where the #1 ranked Texas volleyball team picked up 2 more wins this week over Arizona and Notre Dame. We'll have more on that right after the break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching College Press Box on TSTV.
Welcome back, everyone. Up next, we have some highlights from our very own Texas Longhorn volleyball team. Breon Butler gets a kill. First set against Notre Dame, 1-0. Molly Phillips gets it done against Notre Dame for set 1, 24-16. Phillips and Butler go up for the block to close out set 2. Score 25-16 to finish out the set. Logan Eggleston is quick on the net with a tip. Score 20-15. Again, Eggleston smashes a kill. Score 24-17. Skylar Fields powers it to the corner for a set win. Phillips and Butler cover with another smashing block. Fields kills it with another hit inside. Fields manages to crush it again to the back line. Butler is quick with another block at the net. And Eggleston ends it with a smashing ace to center court.
And now to break down Texas' performance this past week, we bring in Cecilia Rodriguez. Cecilia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Cecilia, we didn't see as much dominance this week as we usually do from the #1 ranked Longhorns. Why is that?
Well, the Longhorns' problems started with their service errors. On the line is where we had a lot of our problems. In total, between both games against Arizona and Notre Dame, the Longhorns totaled 21 service errors. And were almost knocked out by 2 teams out of the top 25. Their problems also were that the Longhorns were not in sync during both games. They felt very out of rhythm and were losing points left and right to basic fundamental errors that could have been corrected very easily. Texas also struggled with coverage defense, and their opponents were able to maximize on the net against them, even against the fierce Texas block.
While there were some weaknesses, one thing that did stay consistent for Texas is we saw a strong presence from some of their hitters. Tell us why players like Logan Eggleston and Skylar Fields are so important for this Texas team.
Well, Texas is known for their power hitters, and we rely heavily on them for our success. Texas hitters play a huge part because 1, their presence is known before to their competition, and 2, they will be swinging from all areas on the court and keep swinging no matter what. Eggleston, Fields, Butler, and O'Neal racked up a combined 78 kills, helping them improve their hitting percentage this season.
Absolutely. So going into this next week, obviously this last week was a struggle, like you said, but a more difficult challenge lies ahead. They travel to Texas A&M, Aggie Land. That's hostile territory. You have a good Aggie team down there. What's going to have to change from this Longhorn team if they want to pick up a win in a rivalry game?
So the Longhorns, before heading on the road, are going to need to first sharpen up their serving and their serving game. Secondly, they are going to need to be more consistent on the line, honing in on their opponent's weak spots, while also improving on the receiving, going back to the basics because too many points were lost this weekend to poor receiving. You cannot use your arsenal of power hitters without giving great passes to your setter.
Up next, we've got some fresh and exciting news about this week's NFL updates.
Welcome back to College Press Box. We're going to take a little bit of a break from collegiate sports here and transition to the NFL. Week 1 kicking off this past week with plenty of exciting games and dramatic storylines. For all of that and more, we go to Zach Gueck. Zach, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tommy. Multiple rookie quarterbacks made their NFL debuts on Sunday. First, Zach Wilson across the middle finds Corey Davis for a 35-yard gain all the way down to the 46, finally brought down by Jeremy Chin. Just a few plays later, Zach Wilson takes a snap, looking, throwing over the middle, intercepted by Shaq Thompson. Running, he has blockers in front of him. He gets down all the way to the 32-yard line, a 29-yard return. Zach Wilson, next drive, taking a snap. Pressure coming off the edge. Hassan Reddick gets the sack. Zach Wilson fumbles, but he gets his own recovery. The New York Jets had trouble all day long stopping this Carolina Panthers pass rush. It was trouble. Third quarter, needing 2 on a third down. Zach Wilson rolling out right, passing downfield and finding his receiver Ryan Griffin for the crucial conversion. Just a few plays later, first down. Zach Wilson taking the snap, and the pocket collapses. He has to roll out right, eluding the pressure, looking downfield the entire time, and he finds Corey Davis in the end zone, wide open for a 22-yard touchdown. What athleticism from Zach Wilson to run away from the pass rush and keep his eyes downfield, and Corey Davis following his quarterback for the 22-yard reception. Wow. Jets electing to go for 2. Zach Wilson takes a snap and he strolls into the end zone with his first career touchdown and first career 2-point conversion. Good sequence of plays here late in the fourth quarter. Zach Wilson finding Barrios on a 4th down and 8 for a 25-yard gain all the way out to midfield. Next play, Zach Wilson eluding the pressure, stepping up in the pocket and firing downfield for Denzel Mims. There's a Denzel Mims sighting for everybody. Later that drive, 3rd and goal, Zach Wilson finding Corey Davis for an 8-yard touchdown. They did go for 2. They didn't get it. The Jets lose 14-19. The number 1 pick in the draft, Trevor Lawrence for the Jaguars. First quarter, throwing downfield, connecting with Marvin Jones for a 33-yard reception. Same drive. Throwing to him again, Marvin Jones for 15. Start of the second quarter, 3rd and long, throwing downfield, finding DJ Chark for 27 yards. Later that drive, 2nd and 7, Trevor Lawrence throwing downfield, gets his first NFL touchdown to Chris Manhertz. Late second quarter, pressure getting to Trevor Lawrence, tries to show his Zach Wilson athleticism and throws it late over the middle and high and intercepted by Justin Reed, who returns it for 21 yards. Still late second quarter, Trevor Lawrence throwing over the middle and a perfect read and interception by Vernon Hargraves, who returns it all the way down to the 7. Not looking good for Trevor Lawrence in the first half so far. Late third quarter, finding James Robinson over the middle for 15 yards. There was a penalty for roughing the passer that gave them an extra 15 yards after that, which puts them all the way at the 41-yard line. Trevor Lawrence throwing downfield, finds DJ Chark for the 41-yard touchdown. What a throw. Trying to keep the drive alive on fourth down, Trevor Lawrence finding Laviska Shenault for 14 yards. Fourth quarter, trailing 14-37. Trevor Lawrence throws his third interception to Christian Kirksey. Things not looking so good in Jacksonville. Now, he did throw another touchdown, but the highlights weren't cooperating to show that. So here we go. Justin Fields didn't get the start. That was Andy Dalton's job. But what he does get is a 3-yard touchdown right off the edge, leaping into the end zone. Justin Fields gets his first career NFL touchdown as a Chicago Bear. Another rookie quarterback that did not get the start on Sunday, Trey Lance. But just like Justin Fields, Trey Lance makes the most of his opportunities. First and goal from the 5, Trey Lance takes the snap, looking left, throwing, and finds Trent Sherfield for the 5-yard touchdown. Trey Lance's first touchdown in the NFL. Mac Jones getting the start over Cam Newton, throwing downfield, hitting Nelson Aguilar for 12 yards. A few plays later, dropping, throwing deep, and perfect pass breakup by Jason McCourty. Trailing at home, 7-3. Second quarter, Mac Jones finding Nelson Aguilar for the 7-yard touchdown. The mac and cheese era in New England has gotten started. Mac Jones with the touchdown pass, his first in the NFL. Third quarter action. Mac Jones, third down, throwing down the right sideline for James White, who beat out the linebacker for a 26-yard gain. Mac Jones, first down. Looking down the field, going through all of his progressions, finds Kendrick Bourne, who makes one man miss, runs, makes another man miss, then another man miss. Then he finally goes down for a 17-yard gain. Mac Jones, a few plays later, throwing down the field for Hunter Henry, who gets 16 yards out of it. Mac Jones, start of the fourth quarter, looking, throwing down the right sideline to Jonnu Smith for an 8-yard gain.
Only Trey Lance won his debut, but he didn't start as the 49ers win 41-33 versus the Detroit Lions. Zach Wilson went 20 for 37 with 258 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception as the Jets lose 14-17 versus the Carolina Panthers. Mac Jones went 29 for 39, 281 yards and 1 touchdown as the Patriots lose a close one at home 16-17 versus the Dolphins. Trevor Lawrence, 28 for 51 with 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions as the Jaguars get blown out on the road by the new-look Houston Texans, 21-37.
Thank you for that, Zach. Coming up on our final segment, we'll talk more about Longhorn sports and take a look into the next week of action around the 40 acres. Stick around. We'll have more College Press Box for you on TSTV in just a moment.